journalist. I'm usually based in Brussels. I'll be helping to guide these discussions over this last plenary session. And I have to say, earlier this year, I moderated in the Danish Parliament. And at the time, I said, this is the most beautiful room I've ever moderated in. And that record has been broken by this room. I think it's going to be impossible to beat this one. So very happy to now be in the most beautiful room I've ever moderated in. So not only is it the last plenary session of this event today, but it also lands on World Food Day. So that's the international day created to raise awareness of global hunger, the need for food security, and to work together towards a global collaboration in creating a peaceful, sustainable, prosperous, and food-secure future. So it's a very appropriate day to be wrapping up our discussions this week. So let me just give you a quick reminder before we kick off. If you do need headsets, you can find those outside. Make sure that you go and grab one of those so you don't miss out on the discussion. And I just wanted to say as well that if you want to check out the photos, there's photographers dotted around. If you want to check out the photos of the event so far, there is a QR code on the back of both your event passport and also your program. So do feel free to use those online. And if you do, remember to use the hashtag. I've already told you, but I'll tell you again. Hashtag MUFPP Global Forum. And do tag the Milan Pact. They'd love to see what you're saying online. So, without further ado, let's get to our first speakers. And for this, I would firstly like to pass the floor to someone that I think needs no introduction by now, but I'll do it anyway. Anna Scavuzzo, who's the Vice Mayor of Milan. Anna, thank you. I pass you the floor.
Thank you, Natasha. And a very applause to Natasha. Then we can thank you for all the work you have been doing together with us. Honorable mayors, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, I'm very happy to welcome here in my responsibility of Vice Mayor at home. And on behalf of the city of Milan, it's a great honor to welcome here in Palazzo Marino. This is the seat of our city hall, and that's a crucial spot for Milan's civic life. Institutions and citizens meet here. Ideas take shape, and Milan's sense of civic responsibility comes to life. And this, for me, it's a sort of wonderful connection all over the world and now here in this palace. On Monday, we opened here in Palazzo Marino the Global Forum with the 6th Steering Committee in presence meeting. And I'm happy we can conclude all together in the heart of our local government. Just a few steps from here at Palazzo Reale, we have just been and admired the Sala delle Cariatidi. The Milan Urban Food Policy Pact was officially launched in 2015, marking the beginning of a global alliance that continues to grow together with us. Today, 10 years later, we welcome back to the very place where this journey began to celebrate the progress we have achieved together, and to look at the path we still have ahead of us. Thanks to the drafting committee of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, that those ideas led us to be here. And over the past decade, together with cities and partners, we have shown that food policy are building bridges among communities. We shape with food policies our schools, our markets, our urban spaces, our environment. I wish to extend my heartfelt thanks to all our partners, public and private, foundations, international organizations, universities, NGOs, and networks. Thank you for your contribution, because you are supporting the collective effort of the entire Milan Pact community. Your commitment has made this network stronger, more inclusive, and more ambitious. Milan is deeply proud to host you once again here to reaffirm together our shared belief that through food we can nurture sustainability, health, inclusion, and peace. I leave the floor to our partners. Thank you very much and enjoy this last ceremony.
Yes, many thanks, Anna, not just for today, but also for your tireless efforts throughout this week and also the whole journey of the Milan Pact. So a huge thank you to you, Anna. I would now like to pass the floor to a very special guest, someone who has been a long-standing supporter of the Milan Pact, for which they're very grateful, someone they're hoping very much to continue working closely with as well, I know, and that is Giovanni Azzone, who is president of Fondazione Cariplo. I pass you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon to everyone. It's a great honor for me to participate in this event, celebrating 10 years of shared commitment to building fairer, more sustainable, and more inclusive cities through urban food policies. Since 2014, Milan has undertaken an extraordinary journey alongside Fondazione Cariplo, defining and implementing a city food policy that has delivered concrete and measurable results. 77,000 children receive a warm, balanced meal every day in school canteens. CO2 emissions from school catering have been reduced by 34%. 8 neighborhood hubs against food waste have been established, and more than 300 cities have now signed the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact, a remarkable achievement. These results are not just numbers. They represent improved lives, stronger communities, and a better protected environment. In a world where too many people still lack access to a healthy and nutritious meal, our commitment remains clear. Food is a right, not a privilege. Promoting healthy and sustainable diets means investing in public health, reducing inequalities, and building a fairer future. The Milan Pact Awards, launched in 2016, celebrate the best urban food policy. This year, with 347 practices submitted, we have seen growing engagement from the signatory cities. And I want myself to congratulate the awarded cities, Austin for governance, Seoul for sustainable diets, Medellin for social equity, Jericho, Ouagadougou, and Wanta for production, distribution, and food waste reduction. The choice of these categories, in which many major cities around the world have competed over the years, has been very important. To do things well, we need sound governance. We must always keep our goal in mind, social equity. We need concrete action, such as diet choices and waste reduction. And as you will surely agree, in the end, success depends on having a solid foundation, both strategic and organizational. These experiences are a source of inspiration for us and remind us that collaboration among cities is the key to facing global challenges. Allow me to recall some achievements we are particularly proud of. In 2021, Milan's food policy received the Earthshot Prize, a prestigious award from the Prince William Foundation, in the category Award Without Waste. A £1 million prize that recognized our commitment against food waste and gave international visibility to our efforts. Awards and recognition like this one are not only a source of pride for our city, they mark key milestones along the journey we have undertaken. And recognition matters because it helps us build new partnerships and open new paths of collaboration. We have also strengthened our partnership with the University of Milano Bicocca, renewing the Master Program in Food and Society. Food education has been expanded with activity for school and families, because to educate about food is to educate about citizenship. And investing in education means investing in the future. A great thank you to all our partners, to the international delegation, to the major, the experts, and to everyone who works every day to make our food system more just and more sustainable. And thank you to all the cities that share the vision with us. Milan is proud to lead a global network that now includes more than 300 cities, representing over 500 million people. But with pride comes responsibility. The responsibility to continue innovating, sharing, and collaborating. Together, we can build cities where food is accessible, healthy, and sustainable. Together, we can truly make a difference. Let me conclude with one final thought. Bringing problems to light does not mean fooling divisions. It means becoming aware of the problems. Today, we often find ourselves in arenas marked by political competition. But here, the stakes are higher, and that is the future of our cities. Cities that face growing contradiction between those who go without a proper meal and those who waste food. And the only way forward is to collaborate, not to divide, to combine our efforts, not to disperse them. Addressing complex issues such as poverty, food insecurity, and waste, and their impact on the environment and our children's future leaves us with the only viable path, working together, remembering that the future belongs to all of us, not to just to some. Thank you very much.
Turn my microphone on, there we go. Many thanks, Giovanni. The only way forward is to collaborate and not divide. I really like that sentiment, very powerful. Thank you. I would now like to pass the floor to another very important close partner whose help has been key to the success of this event, and that is Fiorenza Lipparini, who is Director General of YesMilano, who's going to talk a bit about the legacy of these international events. Pass you the floor.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, President Azzone, distinguished delegates to this amazing 10th Global Forum, our generous partner and sponsor, really honored and also a bit emotional about being part of this closing session. It's really delightful to host an event which has been so important, not only in the narrative for our city, but to define our very identity as a global hub, as a hub for inclusion, as a collaborative place. As YesMilano, we are the destination management organization of this city, and we are indeed proud to have supported the municipality of Milano in hosting this remarkable gathering. As I said, not only as an event, but as the living expression of the city's long-term commitment and the legacy of Expo 2015. Because what we have witnessed in these days is really, lots of partnerships, lot of ideas, lot of shared commitment, and also a very positive energy and authenticity, laugh, joy, which is something we don't meet so often lately, unfortunately. And we think this is really the living legacy of Expo, which has made not only of a global positioning, not only of infrastructure, which are even now coming to life, but really of people, of collaboration, of purpose. Our role as destination management organization is to ensure that these legacies are not only remembered, but multiplied. But they continue to take shape in Milano's international initiatives, in its major events, and in the global dialogue that this city continues to inspire. Yesterday's Milano Pact Awards were a real vivid reminder of all this impact and values. We celebrated 6 outstanding cities, and Giovanni already reminded them, who are really redefining urban food system with vision and commitment, with determination, which is really important. Congratulations again to you. And from my perspective, it was really emotional to listen to Ouagadougou's words. I don't say Milan Pact, but the impact of Milano. To listen to Seul's pledge to work hand in hand to ensure that every kid had an healthy meal. To Jericho's decision to donate its prize to buy food to Gaza. And that was, one of many, many really unforgettable moments we will all bring together home. This is how I think the pact will continue to grow over time through collaboration, innovation, and trust. As we look ahead, as you might know, Milano is preparing to host the Olympic and Paralympic Winter Games in only 3 months from now. And I say it's with the same ambition that animated the Expo we are going to face this event, to create not only a great moment, but a lasting positive impact for our cities, for our communities, for the world at large. Because the true impact of an event, after all, is not about numbers, it's not even about the economic value generated, is about enduring values, partnership, shared know-hows that continue to inspire long after events are over. So, once more, thank you. Thank you to our fellow cities. Thank you all. And hopefully you'll bring Milano to your heart and we'll see you again very soon.
Many thanks for your words there, Fiorenza. I'm now very happy to welcome to the stage Fabrice DeClerck, who is Chief Science Officer at EAT. You might also remember him as one of the jury members from last night's award. He's going to give a deep dive into the new EAT Lancet 2.0. Very exciting, because I think this is one of the first times we've heard about this, so I'll pass you the floor.
Thanks, Natalia. And I'm not sure it's a deep dive, because it's 70 pages of report, so we'll do a superficial floating over it. It's great to see you all today, and what better way than to spend Food Day than with you as cities. Really, it's an extreme honor, and this time of, I think, growing darkness, you cities really have become a major, major source of light. So, whoops, that's way too fast. Here we go. So let me start with the serious pieces, and this is the bit that I think many of you are quite familiar with. But when Johan Rockström and people like I who work on environmental sciences look at the condition today, we're really concerned about the directions that we're taking. Johan talks about the great acceleration, this recognition that when we look at major socioeconomic trends, when we look at major environmental trends, we're on this hockey stick kind of configuration where we're now looking at exponential indicators when we're talking about climate change, we're talking about nitrogen oxide, we're talking about ozone, not ozone depletion less so, but conversion of ecosystems. So how do we as society begin to bend the curve on these different kinds of indicators? And what we're looking for as scientists is indications that is a response from society to how do we deal with these curves? Are we responding in a way that's equally important? And one thing I want to say is that I found my first curve bending yesterday, and this was shared to me by Filippo. When we look at the number of cities submitting prizes to the Milan Pact Pact, what's the best fit to this curve? It's an exponential equation. So you are one of the first exponential responses that I have seen so far. And Filippo and Anna, get ready because you're going to have 940 nominations for 2026. And we're going to hold you to that number because we do need to see this kind of exponential response as we look to these challenges ahead. So congratulations, but don't rest yet. The EAT Lancet Commission, major objective, we published the first one in 2019. Our goals here as a commission, 70 scientists from around the world, was to see whether we could describe healthy food, accessible to all, produced, processed, distributed, and consumed fairly within planetary boundaries. We re-reviewed the planetary health diet, we re-reviewed the impact on planetary boundaries, and we added a new element on justice. And I want to indicate that, Anna, when you spoke to us today about social equity and peace, that why did the Commission decide to include justice? It was because Milan Food Policy Pact and others like you led by example and said this is a topic that we need more information on and that we need more attention on. So we're responding to the needs of you as an actor community. We recognize that you as cities are unique. You are shaping food environments. You create the realities for the majority of the world's population. Your capacity to set procurement requirements, your capacity to define food environments, your capacity to work across multiple goals makes you a unique player. And I think you as cities are frontline actors in what we call integrated systems approaches. Again, I think a major attribute, and we encourage you to continue to be these nodes of attraction for positive change. Let's go into the Commission itself. So the first chapter, healthy diets. The first piece, the planetary health diet. This is what we published in 2019. And in this time of increasing global change, this has not changed. 12,000 new research articles citing the Lancet Commission. The evidence is even greater that what we published in 2019 is correct. And so you as cities, we encourage you, act with confidence. There is no major change in the definition of what a healthy diet is. It remains a plate that's half covered in fruits and vegetables. It remains 30% of our calories coming from grains, whole grains preferably. But whether that's sorghum, millet, rice, maize, wheat, does not matter. So there's room for diversity. For many of us, it means reduced meat consumption. If you think about a weekly value, red meat, we're talking about 0 to 200 grams per week of red meat. That's about 1 hamburger patty. We're talking about poultry, 0 to 420 grams per week. That's about 2 servings of poultry per week. And for fish, 0 to 700 grams per week of fish. We want to emphasize the 0 values. You can be vegan, you can be vegetarian, and you can be healthy. But you can also be a flexitarian and be healthy. This really has room for everyone. So what do I expect from Milan next time I come here? Well, from the Eat Lancet diet, la pizza lancetta is the next thing that we want to see on the menu. And all jokes aside, what we want to emphasize, and the fellow who had to stay at lunch remind us, this is not complicated. We live in places that are rich in food diversity. We have the ingredients that we need to create these kinds of foods. It's a celebration of diversity. It's a celebration to celebrate our own cultures and to really relish in those own cultures. It's also an invitation to explore the diversity of others. This is not about constraining our freedom to be able to choose ingredients. Whether your vegetables are broccoli, bok choy, sukuma wiki, baobab leaves, or chaya, that doesn't matter. This is really about remembering that all of our cultures have an example of the planetary health diet in that example. It's about celebration, it's about eating collectively with family, and Anna, I'm going to start saying it's about peace, because I think that this is a key new addition to the way that we describe this endeavor. The second piece, the planetary boundaries for food. What we did in the first commission was describe the food system share of 5 planetary boundaries. We did all 9 this time around. And as a reminder, we've now transgressed 7 planetary boundaries. We crossed the ocean acidification one, at least the evidence supported that 2 weeks ago at the UN General Assembly meeting. The planetary boundaries are the yellow circle in the middle. The high-risk zone is the red one that you see beyond that. The dark green is the current state. The light green is the food system share. And what I want you to see from this is that food systems are the #1 driver of planetary boundary transgression. We talk a lot about climate change here. Food is about 30% of climate change, but it's 80% of biodiversity loss, it's 40% of land occupancy, it's 70% of fresh water use, it's 80% of pollution by nitrogen and phosphorus, and novel entities, biocides, pesticides, herbicides, are a major source of the novel entities transgression. Food systems have a major role to play in bringing us back within planetary boundaries, more than any other sector that we have. The third piece, and this is the newest piece of the Commission, is justice. And led by Christina Hicks, Nitya Rao, and a tremendous team, we propose a set of social foundations to drive transitions in terms of what we call a just food system. This is based on existing human rights literature, the recognitional justice, representational justice, and distributional justice. And we identify 4 major human rights that we would like to emphasize. One is the right to food. Second is the right to a stable environment, and the number of people who are now outside of that right to a stable environment is rising and will continue to rise until we begin to tackle climate change. Third is the right to labor, and fourth is the right to freedom and agency. When we look at the distribution of these rights globally, before I go into that, the one thing that I'd like to emphasize here is that if we recognize that everyone has the right to a stable environment, then we not only have the right to food, but we have the responsibility to a healthy diet. Is Ed from Austin still here, or is Ed gone home? Ed? Okay, so in the United States, we talk about our rights and we translate them to freedoms. And freedom means I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, how I want. And we really need to stop this kind of thinking. If we want to make sure that everyone globally has access and a right to a safe environment, then it is our responsibility to make healthy diets the default option for everyone. Unhealthy overconsumption impinges on the rights of others to live within a stable environmental system. And I hope that we can begin to recognize that with rights come major responsibilities. The analysis that we did on rights is a bit alarming. When we look at those of us who are over-consuming, that's the green square in the upper right, we are in a safe social space, but we are driving consumptions above that planetary boundary. We are impinging on the rights of others to a safe environment. So that's 4.1 billion people who currently have consumption patterns that take away the rights of others to a safe environmental space. When we look at the number of people who are within that safe and just space, it represents only 1% of the global population. And so the really important point to emphasize here is that we all have a tremendous obligation to begin to think about how tomorrow, when we go back to our normal lives after Milan, what actions do we take differently that contribute not just to our own individual right to healthy foods, but to our collective right to a safe and stable planet. Giuseppe, you said that we have to choose which route to take, and the modeling work that we did today really, I think, emphasizes that we are at that decision point. The red bars indicate business as usual. This is what happens if we continue on our current transitions and the current way that we consume food, versus the yellow, which is what happens if we move towards an Eat Lancet diet, reducing food loss and waste by 50%, and improving the way that we produce food. So business as usual, 4% more land, 33% more greenhouse gas emissions, 13% more fresh water use, and an increase of 41% of nitrogen and phosphorus pollution. If we move towards a scenario where we all shift towards healthy diets, improve how we produce food, reduce food loss and waste, what's possible? 7% reduction in the amount of land that we currently use for food production. For the first time in human history, we would be able to bend the curve on land for food. That is absolutely exceptional, leaving more space for natural ecosystems to help protect us against climate change. 20% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from food compared to today, a significant reduction in blue water use, a significant reduction in nitrogen phosphorus, but still not beyond the planetary boundary, requiring additional efforts, particularly, I think, focusing on regenerative agriculture and circularity. So we do have a path to take, and within, I think, this major challenge that we present in terms of planetary boundaries, the good news is that the secret weapon that you are all working on, healthy diets and food systems, has the capacity to bring us back within environmental limits. I want to conclude with the last part, which is focusing on solutions and transformation. And this, I think, really is our handshake to you. I think when you see what we propose in terms of solutions for transformation, these are actions that you are already taking. We recognize the need to bundle policies, that those policies should be context-specific. When we look at the school meal plans that you're all working on, it's exactly what we see. All of you making sure that school-aged kids in your communities have access to meals, but adapting policies that fit your context, your condition, and your capabilities. Second, building coalitions of diverse actors. And here, what I would encourage you, if we think about the next time that you convene as cities, create some space for farmers, create some space for civil society, create some space for those actors that you need to be collaborating with in order to progress more quickly together. Third, barriers to transformation. Let's address those barriers. Let's not say that barriers mean stop, but recognize that we need to address them, confront them, and figure out ways to work around them. We recognize insufficient political leadership, particularly at the national level. We don't see sufficient ambition, and we see significant going backwards in terms of political ambition. Second, we need to recognize when corporate interests block change. We heard that Nestle is now withdrawn from the methane pledge. This is really, I think, a travesty for many of us who've been working so long, giving confidence to our private sector partners and counting on them to really do their part to help drive this change. And third, we see weak and fragmented public demand for change. We need to create spaces where our communities, our citizenry can begin to really understand the challenges, feel empowered, and engage with us in these changes. Third, unlocking financial resources. And here, one thing we want to recognize is that we have significant funding that's going into food right now, but it's paying for unsustainable practices and it's paying for foods that currently are harming public health. 70% of the externalities of food are borne by the public health sector. We have a $10 trillion food system that has $12 trillion in externalities, and the bulk of that carried by the public health sector. How do we find alliances with that sector to recognize that healthy diets are not just good for us individually, but they're good for public health, while also being a significant means by which we address environmental challenges? We need greater alignment across public policies. We need the COP in Belém in a couple of days or weeks now to recognize that the climate challenge is a food challenge, it's a biodiversity challenge, and that multiple actors have capacity to be able to work on. So we need greater alignment across these multiple goals. We do need new finance. and we need to increase international development funding, and we're really concerned about the backsliding that we have currently in terms of the attention that's been given to international development funding. I want to conclude by thanking all of you. In 2019, when we published the first Lancet Commission, each wrote a series of action briefs. What does this mean for cities? What does this mean for healthcare professionals? This time around, with the help of C40 and the Milan Policy Pact, we invited you to write your own brief. And if you haven't seen it today, we encourage you to click on the QR code. There's a short brief that describes 10 actions to take, 5 actions to stop, and also where do you need help from other sectors. This was written by cities, for cities, and we hope that it provides you a discussion tool to reflect on what kinds of ambitions do you want to take moving forward. With that, I want to conclude with 2 concluding messages. And the first is that when we look at what we found with the Lancet Commission, we recognize that a food system cannot be just without ensuring the planetary boundaries are met, a safe environmental space for everyone. We recognize that the planetary healthy diet is fundamental to this, that it must be affordable, accessible to all, without substantially reducing transgression of planetary boundaries. And second, the flip side of this is recognize that a justice is necessary to overcome barriers that currently impede transformative action, and that therefore justice is not just an outcome transformation, but really a fundamental prerequisite for achieving it. With that, thank you for everything that you're doing. We look forward to seeing you in 2 years and celebrating again the key projects we're making. And we really encourage you to keep that ambition going, because your work is really fundamental to both what we see for people and for planet.
Excellent. Thank you, Fabrice. You said it wasn't a deep dive, but I think that was very comprehensive and broken down into nice bite-sized chunks for us. So you really gave a good flavor of what you're bringing to the table there. And as I understand it, there's an executive summary coming out in a little next week after maybe. So if you want to dive in deeper, then I invite you to do that. Now, let me pass you over into the very capable hands of Chiara Mandelli, who's a food policy officer at the City of Milan, and she's going to chair this next part of the event. So, Chiara, I pass you the floor.
Thank you very much, Natasha. Good afternoon, everyone. Over the past days, we've heard the voices of our cities, their experiences, their challenges, and their achievements. Now we want to turn the spotlight to the other side of the MUFPP network, our strategic partner. These are the organizations that, over the years, have worked with us, supporting cities with research, technical knowledge, funding, and vision. Today, we have invited them to share with us their reflection and, most importantly, their commitment for the future. So let me start by warmly thanking all our partners joining me on stage. Mrs. Angela Cordero, co-director of Agroecology Fund. Ms. Anne Trevenant-Jones, lead food system governance at GAIN. Ms. Edwina Huge, head of partnership and engagement, World Resource Institute. Professor Pius Prasetio, Associate Professor at Parayangan Catholic University. Ms. Madeleine Coste, Head of Food at Eurocities. And Ms. Olivia Bertolini Monteiro, Network Coordinator, Porto Alegre. So let me kick off this roundtable with Angela. Angela, the letter of intent between the Agroecology Fund and the MUFPP marks a new chapter of collaboration to scale up agroecology within cities. How can this partnership help cities embed agroecology in their food policies and boost its visibility and funding?
Thank you, Chiara. Thank you, the organizers, for the opportunity. My name is Angela Cordeiro. I'm from Brazil, and I share the co-directorship of the Agroecology Fund, with my colleague Danielle Moss that was yesterday in the prize ceremony. Agroecology Fund is a pool of funders. We are also teenager as the Milan Pact. Agroecology Fund was created in 2012. And as teenagers, we are full of energy and very excited with the opportunity of starting this collaboration with the Milan Pact. Agroecology Fund supports collaboratives, civil society, led by civil society organizations. That includes, in many cases, collaborations with local governments. And what we have learned from our partners that Agroecology Fund supports in more than 100 countries is that these collaborations is very, very important to face the challenges to transform food systems. In the opportunity and the power and the potency of local governments are very important to move in a direction, in a transition that we don't have only some production units, some farms that are doing very well, but we can think in terms of landscapes, in terms of what we say in Latin America, that is territorialization of sustainable food systems of agroecology. And so we are very excited. It's our first time in the Milan Pact meeting. This is a new collaboration for us, and we are very excited with this opportunity of facilitating the liaison between many social civil society initiatives around the world, and also all the knowledge that these initiatives have been creating to inspire these policies and programs that are now being implemented in many countries. From our experience, the grassroots organizations and civil society, they are a source of inspiration and many solutions to address these problems. And it's very important to strengthen the social fabric, because good governments and bad governments, they do not last forever. And so if you do not have the social fabric that sustain the good policies and the good initiatives that good mayors and good governments have the opportunity to implement, they do not last, because they can just be interrupted because other ideas come in power. And so it's very important to strengthen civil society, to strengthen the social fabric that gives the support to mayors, to local governments, to implement and to sustain good ideas and good initiatives, even after when they finish their term in the government of a city, of a state, of a national level.
Thank you, Angela. It's inspiring to see how agroecology is becoming a bridge between local policy and global sustainability. And through our new letter of intent, GAIN and the Milan Pact are joining forces to strengthen the governance of urban food environment and improve access to healthy diets for all. How can this collaboration help cities turn nutrition goals into action while keeping equity and anti-food system at the core?
Thank you very much. And hello, cities. I really love working with cities because that's where policy is actually translated into action. And I think GAIN has shifted over the time and thought nutrition has been far too long in the Department of Health or under WASH or the community services work. It has been segmented or seen as dietary. That must be something so healthy that cities can't actually grasp it. So what I really like about the Pact, and GAIN really feels that there's something strong to do, is to actually say nutrition is part of those governance. You can pull at any one of the 6 categories with food waste. That means that food was not distributed for long enough and shared with as many people. But taking that idea that it's not just enough food, and I think we're threatening to sort of say, are we food secure? But are we also thriving? Are we nourished within those planetary boundaries? And GAIN has very much worked with the planetary boundaries to sort of say, looking at the Pact, we're actually working in a number of Milan Pact signatory cities. How do they translate that into action? And for us, it's been about saying, this is a system. So good nutrition is based on biodiverse soils, biodiverse food. It's all about bringing it through on a safe and health chain, all the way down to our markets, for example, which are places where consumers find food all the time, but it's also where vendors who are low income are trying to earn livelihoods. So how do we make those resilient? How do we make options and choices available to meet those planetary diets? We actually, and then the fact that we want to avoid food waste, but if we can't, where can it go so that it nourishes the system? And one of the things we've really found is that when you ask people, draw a plate, city governments have a role. Draw a plate, start somewhere. And they normally say, well, they can only have 2 things. That's the reality of what they can eat. But if you draw an aspirational plate, like if you could do all the diversity, they start to think, oh my gosh, my grandmother used to eat this in the winter. They start to make these social connections, which are good for people and good for the planet. And I think that's where the Pact and GAIN have a lot of interesting work to do. Thanks.
Thank you, Anne. Your word reminds us how nutrition and governance are deeply connecting in shaping more equitable cities. Edwina, the World Resource Institute plays a crucial role in turning data into action. How can city leverage partnership and data to accelerate their transition toward a more sustainable food system? And how can networks like the MUFPP help bridge the gap between evidence and implementation?
Well, thanks, Chiara, and thank you for having us here today. So I just want to say I'm delighted that MUFPP have invited us into a closer partnership. I work for the World Resources Institute, and we have a movement called Cool Food. And I think it's a perfect example of how partnership can actually accelerate progress. I was listening to Bettina this morning from Copenhagen say, actually, I feel quite competitive. Ghent is beating us on our emissions reduction, and we need to surpass them next year. So I love the idea of a movement and also a collaboration that can really encourage change, which is what the Cool Food movement is doing. So it's about 90 organizations, universities, cities, hospitals, contract caterers, private sector, and it accounts for 2.6 billion meals. And what it does is it gets everyone on the same path towards reducing emissions through using procurement data. And as Fabrice said, we need to move with confidence. And we can't move with confidence if we don't have data. So I think data creates the foundation from which we can move and create a really powerful story. But the powerful story is still important. The data is the foundation. We need to inspire and enable our politicians to feel like they have the evidence that can then support the story. So in terms of how movements like MUFPP can help, I see amazing practice through the last couple of days. You know, I hear people talking about the things that they've achieved and how others can learn from them. So I think there's an opportunity to lean in, so to speak, to make those connections, to learn from each other, to recognize the environment in which we're operating, which is suggesting that we need to be thoughtful about how we communicate this message around healthy, sustainable diets, but not to be cowed or intimidated, that actually there is power in the movement and there's power in the collaboration that we all stand together.
Thank you, Edwina. Partnership and monitoring framework are indeed a powerful tool to help cities to assess their impact and to foster innovation. Professor Prasetyo, the collaboration between the MUFPP and UNPAR is a very strong one and has the aim to create a center of excellence in Asia Pacific to exchange knowledge and strengthen food policy in the region. From your perspective, what are the main challenges and prospects for this partnership as we look ahead to the next phase of this collaboration?
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity. Special thanks to Anna for inviting us. And of course, Filippo, thank you so much for everything that you have already support. Andrea and also Zerena. It seems that Filippo is really falling in love with Indonesia. Yeah. So every year, Filippo always visit us, especially in Bali. Yeah. Okay. We have a long story with MUFPP, until now. And what I want to say, I want to start with, because I'm working at the university. My university is Parahyangan Catholic University in Bandung, Indonesia. I want to start that university is not an island. And university cannot busy with their own, let's say, with the text, reading, but universities should contribute to all of us, to all of things around the university. That's why I want to say that university is is the heart of society. It means that you have to contribute to the local situation, local people, and local government, and of course, expanding to the global situation and issue. That's why my university has a vision to be the local actor, contributing to the local people and government, and of course to support as far as we have the competence and capacity to support the global issues, especially the issue of food. That's why really thanks a lot to Anna, Filippo, and Andrea that invite us to engage, to participate in the issue of food. We have already, let's say, what I want to explain is, we have already make a kind of collaboration with our city government of Bandung, that we support, for example, like how to develop what we call it urban farming as a local issue in Bandung. And we also advocate to the policy, the government policy. Then we create, together with our colleague in Bandung government, to develop what we call it grand design. And this is already issued by the local government, especially in the mayor. And we also, let's say, collaborate with the local government and expanding to the issue of let's say, the urban farming. That's why we also organized together, supported by MUFPP, what we the side event of G20. And also the last one is organizing the ASEAN Summer School. That's very important thing. We take the role as what we call it, center of excellence, to how to collaborate, to engage all people, government, university, NGO in order to have a strong concern in the issue of food. And as you asked me that what is the main challenge, I think the human resources, the limit of human resources. But I always optimistic that we have friends, many friends, even in the local friends and global friends like MUFPP. That's why we can expand our activities and program together with the MUFPP and also for the next period. I always thanks to my colleague here from Ricolto, Mbak Noni, because she introduced us, the MUFPP, that there is a global forum that we can engage, and then until now we can engage in the activities with the global forum. For the next, I think we still have a strong commitment together with MUFPP to promote how to, let's say, solve the problem of food, especially the accessibility of food. That's why I have to say and inform you that the President of Indonesia now put the issue of food in the top priority as a national strategy. So I think this is have a strong connection with the global issue, that's global issue concerning also the food. And then my national government, especially the president, already put this issue on food as the top priority in our national strategy. So we hope that our commitment still strong, and we can strengthen our collaboration with MUFPP, and all of you all come here, and we can make a networking for, let's say, the food for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Prasetio, for being such a valuable partner of the MUFPP. Your work has shown us that regional cooperation can really foster the impact of city networks like the Milan Pact. Madeleine, Eurocities has been a strong ally in connecting cities and scaling up urban food initiative. What lessons can global networks learn from the European cooperation when it comes to create long-term commitments and peer learning between cities?
Thank you, Chiara, and thank you very much to the Milan Pact for the invitation here, and of course to this roundtable as well. So I'm Madeleine, I'm the head of food at Eurocities, which for you, those of you who don't know, is a European network of cities with over 220 members. Countries in Europe share common values and are committed to peace, democracy, and solidarity. Cities also have these shared commitments, and in our case, a shared commitment to fair, sustainable, and healthy food systems. And we believe that it's city networks that can really bring cities together to promote these shared values in a joint effort. The collaboration between the Milan Pact and Eurocities started in 2016 with the establishment of the working group Food, where together with the signatories of the Milan Pact and the Eurocities members, we have more than 100 cities that are working together on promoting more sustainable diets. A working group that is co-chaired by Milan, of course, and also the city of Warsaw. And so together, we have had two main areas of collaboration. The first is on advocacy, because we still have a problem in Europe where cities are not yet included enough in EU policymaking, and specifically on food, I would say. And unfortunately, food is not yet a top priority like it is in Indonesia, so we also have to promote this message together. We are also advocating for European policies to really help cities actually achieve their ambitions, because in many cases, cities are much more ambitious than their member states and European Union on sustainable food systems. And so we do this advocacy work together by organizing, for example, joint events, bringing city leaders to Brussels, meeting with European institutions, and also through gathering evidence through our joint projects and bringing this evidence to Brussels. And so I'm very excited also that we'll be able to bring all of these Milan Pact Awards submissions to Brussels, which I think constitute a really, really invaluable collection also for European leaders. The second axis of collaboration is on organizing peer learning activities and knowledge exchange, because we really believe that cities learn the best from each other. On paper, cities may not look like they have common challenges sometimes. Maybe they are different sizes or they're in very different environments. But through facilitated peer learning exchanges, we always find really, really interesting similarities, whether it's in maybe their governance structure or common challenges that they're facing. And so we organize these exchanges on, and help cities exchange on the innovative solutions that they're testing on the ground. For example, how best to engage with vulnerable groups, what kind of arguments and evidence are needed to convince their political leaders that food should be a top priority. And of course, we think it's very important also to have cities share about their failures, because we have very limited time and we have very limited resources. So let's exchange on what hasn't worked and learn from each other on this. So what will our collaboration look like in the future? Well, we're very excited that the summer school that has been implemented in the Asian Pacific region will actually be coming to Europe, and that we'll be working with the Milan Pact on establishing the summer school for European city leaders, really to strengthen school programs across the continent. And of course, adapting this methodology and this method to the European context. And we will continue to collaborate with the Milan Pact on advocating for European policies to give a seat to cities at the table, and for for urban food systems to become a top priority. So I want to thank the Milan Pact and the Milan Pact Secretariat for this relationship built on trust and collaboration. Also to all of the partners and researchers that we've been working with for all the invaluable expertise that you've been bringing, and to our European cities that have been engaging with us in all of our work, because you're really the ones who are doing the really difficult work, actually.
Thank you, Madeleine. Your words remind us that the work cities are doing needs always to be supported by networks like MUFPP and, of course, Eurocities. Last but not least, Olivia, Mercocidades has always linked food system transformation to the broader climate and environmental agenda. After the approval of the urban food policy thematic unit within Mercocidades, what do you see as the next steps for the MUFPP and Mercocidades cities to strengthen their urban food policies?
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation, for the opportunity to be here and to talk about the strategy of Mercocidades and the strategy of the alliance of Mercocidades and the Pact. Thank you, Felipe and Francesco, as well, for being with us all the time, all the way. And this gives us the trust to continue. And the first thing I would like to tell is a little bit about what we did. We did webinars in a way to give the same level of information to all the cities, because once that we combine the cities, we needed to make sure that the cities from the Mercocidades had information about the directions and the framework of the Milan Pact. So this is one thing. And there's a line of administration that we used to say that strategizing is to combine actors, practice, and it's about what Pacto brings, and a common goal. So we work it down in a common goal. We organize the information. We guarantee that everybody is in the same page. And now we see as a road is to exchange the relationship, the information, the peer-to-peer cities with complementary actions. What we do, what one city is in as a case, and another city that needs to or wants to learn with it. The colleague said about the failures. I would say the failures are as much as is so important because it's learn lessons. So this is also a thing that I want to share. And I think the road is to bring a portfolio of projects like Francesco and Filippo. We had now a magazine that bring a little bit about the webinars that we made. And I think this is one of the strategies to materialize what we're doing and communicate better what you're doing and how the things can be better in the next couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia, and thank you to Mercocidades for keeping us grounded in the bigger picture, that of planetary boundaries and shared responsibility. Thank you to all partners for participating to this roundtable and for this powerful insight. What we have heard today confirms that this network is not only a commitment of cities, but it's a complex ecosystem of collaboration where city governments, foundation, researcher, and civil society move in the very same direction. While we approach the last part of the session, I would like to ask the partner to remain on stage while I leave the floor to Anna Scavuzzo, Vice Mayor of Milan.
Thank you for being here together with us and also for representing all the stakeholders and shareholders that are building together with us this network. And the last and the final declaration before the closing ceremony can be finished is very important for us because we would like to share together with you, with our partner, with our cooperating people, to present and ask to the community to approve the final declaration of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact Global Forum 2025. because we would like to share together with you, as we are used to do after every global forum, but especially in this one, in which you will listen to the words, exactly the words we have been listening during these days on the stage, a collective document that reflects the dialogue and the renewed commitments of these 3 days, because we want to share with you this anniversary, but we want also to envision the future. And so it's very important for us to share what these 10 years after the signature has been for us, a decade of urban food leadership, but first of all, we want to share also the next decade. And so I could share together with you some numbers to describe the past, but I will leave to a read that everybody can do by itself. And I would like to focus your attention now towards the next decade. And the declaration I propose to you to share together with us says in this way: cities face new and interlinked challenges such as climate disruption, social inequality, conflicts, and food insecurity. The Milan Pact community looks ahead with renewed determination, confident in the strength of the path built together. The next decade must be one of the implementation, integration, and inclusion. Therefore, the city gathered in Milan for the 2025 Global Forum. First, acknowledge the deep connection between climate crisis and food systems by endorsing the new and adapted MUFPP framework for action and monitoring framework to better integrate climate mitigation and adaptation into urban food policies. Recognize school meals as a key instrument of social protection, ensuring that every child has access to a nutrition and equitable meal every day. Cities commit to strengthening and expanding school meal programs as an effective pathway to advance food security, social inclusion, and child well-being. Third point, invest in people, infrastructures, and partnerships. Improving the skills of urban food policy teams with learning programs, promoting technical assistance, and mobilizing resources from governments, UN agencies, academia, the private sector, and civil society. Fourth point, reaffirm the role of research to develop evidence and ambition, guided by data and measurable impact to transform the health, economic, and social dimension of urban food systems. Act regionally, connect globally, strengthening regional cluster to turn shared principle into local results, engaging in global and regional processes to ensure that the voice of cities is increasingly heard. The founding principle of the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact recognizes access to adequate, healthy, and safe food as a fundamental human right to be guaranteed under all circumstances. We reiterate that hunger can never be used as a weapon. Together we believe that the right to food for all is our shared responsibility to build food systems that nourish people, restore the planet, and sustain peace. If there are no objections, the declaration can be approved by consensus. This declaration marks not an end, but a new beginning, a renewed agreement between cities and partners, As we call, let us remember, food can be a driver for peace. It connects people beyond borders and reminds us of our shared humanity. Thank you very much to all of you. Before thinking about the next forum, the next regional forum, the next global forum, thank you to all people at work for this global forum. Thank you once again. And we will keep the Milan Urban Food Policy Pact spirit alive, a spirit of cooperation, innovation, and hope for a better future for all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Now this brings us very nearly to an end. I do have a few more bits to add. Firstly, let me reiterate what Anna said at the end there and give a huge thank you to everyone that has contributed to the success of this event. A huge thank you to all of our speakers today, also over the previous days. Also to all of you for taking the time to travel here, to get involved in this event and to prioritize this very important priority here. Thank you as well to our wonderful caterers from Milano Ristorazione who have kept us full and happy all week. Yes. To our technical team and the translators, a huge thank you to everyone that has been involved. So as a quick reminder, just to check out the photos of the event so far, I already explained this on the QR code, but do have a look, share these around if you feel like that. And if you're sad that this is over, which I'm sure you are, luckily for you, there is more fun to come, so don't worry. Firstly, we're going to continue this conversation over a cocktail, and not just any cocktail, but actually this is brought to you by In Galera, who, for those of you who, like me, who don't speak Italian, it actually means in jail. And this is a restaurant that's what I've been reliably told, hopefully that's correct. It's a restaurant inside the jail in Milan, and the food is actually prepared by inmates this is to help them kind of to work, develop skills, and find their way out of the jail. So that's pretty special, and they will be providing the food and the cocktails this evening in the beautiful courtyard outside here. But not only do we have an aperitivo in the beautiful courtyard here, there are also a number of field visits tomorrow morning, so if you are interested, do register for those. And otherwise, that is all from me. I hope you have a wonderful evening and very safe travels home. So thank you.